What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And let's get into it, my friends. This inverse head and shoulders thing is playing out, and it's playing out in a very short amount of time. So much so that I think even on a daily aspect, we can still maintain this V-shaped recovery. We might get everything going on at once, you guys. We might get this. If you're not aware of what I mean by everything, I believe we have a diamond top pattern at play here, which are notorious for very high velocity moves that pull back to the breakout point and through the breakout point, right? That's one scenario that takes us back up to 96.3K. We look at the 1 hour time frame. If we are measuring this as a inverse head and shoulders pattern, I believe it is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. If this is the neckline here, oh, I don't know why that keeps happening. Hold on, y'all. Hold up now. All right, shouldn't be a problem anymore. If this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern, which it certainly looks like it is, because an inverse head and shoulders pattern, it's defined as this, right? You've got your left shoulder here, your left shoulder, you've got your head, and then you've got your right shoulder here, right? And it would come down ideally, and you'd find support at that same area, and you get this inverse head and shoulders look, right? With the shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder there. You did stop just below this one, so perhaps you have a slanted inverse head and shoulders, and if that's the case, you might actually go just below 82K, and that's fine. But the neckline still would be somewhere around this high here. If you break out at that high, that takes you to about 96.4K. That's another scenario in which you get to 96.4K. This very much does look like an inverse head and shoulders pattern because the way the volume is consolidating too, it's literally perfect. I will say I don't believe you have to go all the way down here, though it would make it look nice. And if we were to go lower, I think 82K would hold, right? I think 82.3, somewhere in there it would hold. A little bit of confliction there in the charts because I could see that playing out just on the inverse head and shoulders notion alone. Normally you do form that bottom as well as the top, right? So I would expect that you go lower. But if we look at the 1 hour RSI, the one thing that's conflicting with that a little bit is that you have these higher lows here and lower lows in the RSI, and you're at the 50 level. That tends to signal a bounce. So at any point we could be moving up, but I would expect that a move above 86.5, 86.3K, I would assume a move above there for Bitcoin would lead us to 96.3K based off of this potential inverse head and shoulders pattern. And then of course, if this is not the inverse head and shoulders, right? If it's not to this high, but we're working on something bigger, this is the left shoulder, right? And then we still haven't fully formed the right shoulder. Well, that breakout target would only be put at a deeper level, and then at a higher level for the breakout, that would send us up above 100K. So no matter how we cut it, whatever way we look at this inverse head and shoulders pattern, it's certainly looking good. Not only that, if we go on the daily time frame here, or not, I'm sorry, the 4 hour time frame, that's right. The 4 hour time frame here, you've got a higher low and another higher low here. That's two higher lows. You've got a lower low and then another lower low there. That's two lower lows. That's double bullish divergence. Okay, technically, my friends, the double bullish divergence is not completed until you hit this line here. Okay, until Bitcoin interacts with this line, it's not completed. Now, statistically speaking, it's very likely, it's like 90% of the time or more, that you would at least hit this line. And statistically speaking too, it's actually more probable that you go through it. Something like that. But you don't have to. You could be finding resistance here. Sometimes in very bearish trends, you don't actually complete your bullish divergence and you get near it, but then you come back down. And if this is a very bearish trend, which it seems to be, then that could send us lower. But then we would probably see an immediate, this would imply a bull trap here, and we would see an immediate crash down, probably between today and tomorrow, something that would be a final push down below 77K. I'm not anticipating that personally. More so what I'm trying to say is, again, statistically speaking, it's like less than 10% of the time that this scenario would happen. 90% or more, we would actually not just hit the line, but go through the line. And if we go through the line, we are breaking out of this lower inverse head and shoulders pattern, getting set up for the bigger one, and ultimately that would lead us up to that price above the breakout point, which again is the same thing for this diamond top pattern here. So if I had to guess, if I had to give it like the odds of who's more in favor to win right now, the ball is definitely in the Bulls' court, you guys. It's definitely for the Bulls to roll around right now, but if they let it go, if they let it slip, the Bears might take control of it. So just watch for that, right? In other words, if we were to drop, I would expect it to happen over the next couple days. If we don't drop over the next couple days, then the only reason for that is we're still retracing. Now, does that mean that we are on our way to new all-time highs? Not necessarily. We have a lot of confirmation to do, and I would say that getting back up to 96.3K would be very validating to the notion that this is the low. But it's not validating entirely, right? There's one last level that we need to break above, and that would be the 886. 886 up here, 0.886 at 105. 126,000, I would get excited if we're above 100,000 at all. But what you need to do is not just wick above this line, you need to close above this line. If you can close above this line, and I think you will, that means that statistically speaking, it's not just that this low is validated, but we are on our way to new all-time highs rather immediately. If this is a V-shaped recovery, oh man, I forgot about the V-shaped recovery thing. We mentioned it. I mentioned it, right? But if this is a V-shaped recovery, if we're expecting a V-shaped recovery, generally speaking, I mean, where did the V start? Did it start all the way back here? I don't think so. I think if it was a V-shaped recovery, here's where the V started, right? So if you were to recover, V-shaped recoveries, for those of you that don't know, they are notorious, statistically speaking. A successful V-shaped recovery almost always goes above where it started. So that would mean, you know, if it started here at 99K, or you want to say it started here at 96K, either way, that's another bullish pattern scenario. There's so many of them that line up for these same exact areas. Again, you can look it up. Look up like on Google. Do V-shaped recoveries recover past the point that the V formed? I don't know if that'll actually come up, but maybe you'll get somewhere. You'll probably find several people who agree with that and say that same thing, because in my experience, V-shaped recoveries, let's just see if we can find one even. You know, I guess you could make an argument that these are, but I don't know about that. Let's see. You know, V-shaped recovery here. All right, here you go. Here's a V-shaped recovery right here. Here it began, and here it ended. Did you go off to the races immediately? No, but your V-shaped recovery ended above that high, right? Here's a V-shaped recovery, but it's a failed V-shaped recovery, isn't it? Because you didn't go above that high, which then led you to going lower, right? Failed V-shaped recoveries happen as well. Depends on how you look at it, right? Did it start all the way up here? Did it start right here? Yeah, you know, it's hard to say. You can kind of wiggle your way through that one. I don't know what to say, man. Let's see. Any other V-shaped recoveries? Nothing that I'm... Okay, right here, yeah. I mean, right here, V-shaped recovery. And where you pulled back, where you found some resistance and pulled back, you saw a nice little... How much was that from a high to a low? You dropped about 10% for Bitcoin in the course of 2 days. That's pretty significant. V-shaped recovery stopped right above the V, right where it formed. Of course, you know, is that where the V formed? Was it here? Debatable. But again, V-shaped recoveries are notorious for ending above where they began, right? And the hardest part about that is, where did it begin? There's always that question. So being in the oversold zone here on the daily aspect, we are the most oversold that we've been since June of 2024, right? Literally in about, how much would that be? It's about 3/4 of a year. Some of the most oversold levels that we've seen ever. Same thing on the 3-day time frame. We are actually at very normal areas to find support in a bull market, right? Sometimes we get oversold, but we found support here before. We found support here before. We might be finding support now just below this area. So, you know, sometimes we do go lower, but I think our chances are good that we find support here. Again, the last time that we were below this oversold zone, it was back in August of 2023. That doesn't mean that it's impossible to happen, but generally speaking, bull markets provide more strength as they go on, not more weakness. That's, you know, once you start providing more weakness, that's when you're in a bear market. The daily RSI, again, going back to here, we're not only in the oversold zone at some of the lowest levels we've been all cycle, but we're also firmly entrenched in a downtrend. If we're in this downtrend, and I think we are, we're probably at the base of this downtrend, at least moving up to the top side. Even if we come back lower, and that would imply that Bitcoin goes lower still, even if that were to happen, we're at least due for some sort of a bounce that would last a couple weeks or so. But I'm really looking for this to not reject. I think that it will, and I think we all are, right? Looking for a breakout here, which would imply something different, right? It would imply something different's going on, a change in trend. We've been in the same trend in the RSI for months, you guys. It's been since the beginning of November, the middle of November, and if you notice, since we've been in this downtrend in the RSI, Bitcoin has been moving sideways. We've been consolidating, with the exception of the past week dropping. I suppose it's not that hard to conclude that this same consolidation phase in the RSI, which has led to a consolidation phase and ultimately a breakout in the price, when we break that, that could suggest a new trend, and that trend would likely be to the upside. And if we're starting a new trend after consolidating for months, I mean, anytime Bitcoin breaks out, it's normally to new all-time highs, especially in a bull market. I mean, literally in a bull market, that's what happens. So here we are at 84.7K right now. Not worried about the price at all. Yeah. It went up to what was it, 87,000, just below 87,000, and now it's back down just a little bit. But volatility is going to happen at these levels, right? These are where trades are made and stuff like that. People get in, people get out, people get in again, and if they don't get in again, they FOMO the top, whatever. 1 hour RSI, again, looking very bullish, I would say. You are in an uptrend in the 1 hour RSI. I hope that's obvious. I'm not going to draw it with lines here. So that really does encourage me to believe that you're going to find support on the 50. Bitcoin does like to find support on its 50 and even resistance too. You can see back here, we did that same thing. The longer we live up here, the longer that we stay in this zone, something like that, right, just like this kind of stuff, the more likely we're going to see some positive momentum, right, consistent momentum going up. And while this wasn't that significant, that was just from 93K to about 99K, I would expect here, while we're having more significant candles, relatively speaking, the relative strength index, the RSI, would provide more relatively strong moves than what we saw back there. So time will tell. And it's based on the 1 hour time frame, no time at all. Actually, I would expect that within the next 48 hours, guys, we'll have a little bit of resolution here. I'm anticipating that resolution will be to the upside, and we're likely going to see prices around $96,000 and above. And if it's not in the next 2 days that we're at 96K, let me rephrase that a little bit. Resolution as in we will know which way we're breaking out. Maybe in 2 days we're only at $91,000. But if we're at $91,000, we're breaking out, we're on our way to 96K, right? We will have like full maturity of the measure move maybe in 3 or 4 days, or maybe it is in 2 days, who knows. But I expect the next 48 hours to be very, very validating one way or another. We'll see how it goes. And if the worst happens, if the worst comes to us, likely that'll be the last low, and we will recover from there. I don't know if I have anything else that I want to say, so I'm probably just going to end it there. If you want to wonder what the next targets are whenever we talk about all-time highs, the next target areas, I want to make sure my mic's on. I don't know if you guys can hear my computer. It's like going at Mach 7 right now is what it sounds like. I'm going to have to fix that. High to low here. 120K is the first stop, 134K is the next stop, and then after that we probably see prices above 150,000, if not upwards toward 180,000, something like that. But I expect this to take weeks, probably even multiple months to play out entirely. So I really do expect that the months of March, April, and May to all be very bullish months. I think we're going to have a quarter of a year period where we're just moving up, but it all depends on when we start, right? Is March the month that we start moving up, or is it the month that we just consolidate, we figure ourselves out, and then after March is over, then we have this move up? Time will tell, but I'm definitely expecting bullish things coming over the next quarter of a year. So that's all I got for you guys. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.